It was a sunny morning at the monastery high up in the mountains. The birds were singing joyfully, and a light breeze rustled the leaves of the tall oak trees surrounding the stone buildings. Deep in meditation sat a young monk named Jigme. He had joined the monastery a year ago, drawn by its reputation for wisdom and serenity. Under the guidance of the wise abbot and senior monks, Jigme felt he was learning so much about the Buddhist way of life. This morning, like every morning, he awoke before dawn to practice meditation. Sitting cross-legged on a cushion in the quiet hall, he focused on his breathing and sought to calm his restless mind. Yet today, something was bothering him. Try as he might, he could not concentrate. His mind kept wandering back to the same thought that had troubled him last night as he lay on his thin mattress. Why was he working so hard when no one seemed to notice? Each day, he applied himself diligently to all his duties, cleaning the temple, serving meals, studying the sutras, and no one, not even the abbot, had offered him a word of encouragement or praise. His fellow monks went about their chores silently, heads bowed. Was his effort for nothing? Was there any point in working hard when no one cared? Jigme was startled from his thoughts by the sound of the gong, signaling the time for breakfast. He rose slowly from his cushion and made his way to the eating hall. Taking his bowl of rice and vegetables, he ate alongside the other monks, listening to the recitation of a Zen text. After the meal, as Jigme carried his bowl to be cleaned, he heard the abbot call his name. "Jigme, come see me after your chores today. I have a task for you." Puzzled but obedient, Jigme nodded. What could the abbot want him for? His curiosity lingered as he headed into the temple gardens to begin weeding and raking the gravel paths. The sun climbed higher as Jigme worked. Sweat beaded on his shaved head, but he labored steadily. After 2 hours, the gardens looked immaculate, with not a stray leaf or twig marring the raked patterns in the gravel. Washing his hands, Jigme made his way to the abbot's room. He paused outside the door, took a deep breath to collect himself, then knocked. At the abbot's bidding, he entered and bowed low before the elderly monk seated on a straw mat. The abbot studied him for a long moment before speaking. "Jigme, word has reached me that the bridge over the mountain stream to the east is in need of repairs. You know the one. It provides the only access to the village down the mountain." Jigme nodded. He had crossed that ancient wooden bridge several times on errands for the abbot. It seemed sturdy enough, though a bit weathered. "I would like you to go examine it, and do what needs to be done to fix it. Take whatever supplies you need. How long do you think the work will take?" Jigme's mind spun. He had no experience repairing bridges. What did the abbot expect him to do? As he grasped for words, the abbot held up a hand. "It's all right. I know this is beyond anything you have done so far, but I have faith that you will figure it out." Rising slowly, the abbot placed his hand on Jigme's shoulder. "Not everything will be laid out clearly for you here. As in the world outside, part of your learning is finding your own way. Listen to your inner wisdom. It will guide you if you pay attention." With that, the abbot turned away, hands folded into his sleeves. Taking this as a sign of dismissal, Jigme bowed again and took his leave. His steps felt heavy as he walked to the tools to gather what he needed for the task ahead. Over the next 3 days, Jigme labored from sunrise to sunset repairing the bridge. It was tricky work. Some beams were rotten and needed replacing, while others could be salvaged. Using lessons learned from the carpenters who had helped build a new dormitory last year, Jigme carefully reinforced joints and secured new deck boards. By late afternoon on the 3rd day, covered in sweat and sawdust, Jigme hammered the last nail in place. The bridge now looked sturdy and safe again. Surveying his work with weary satisfaction, he hoisted his tool bag over his shoulder and trudged back to the monastery. After washing up, he girded himself to go see the abbot and report on the completed work. He wondered if the old monk would find fault with his repairs. To his surprise, the abbot greeted him not with criticism but with delight. "Ah, Jigme, the villagers told me you repaired that bridge like a master carpenter. They are very grateful, as it makes their journeys here much safer. Well done, my boy." Jigme flushed. For the first time, he felt his efforts had been recognized. It was a small gesture, but enough to reignite the spark within that had motivated him to join this spiritual community. That night, as he drifted off to sleep, Jigme felt the inner peace that came with understanding his silent work did matter after all. He realized now that diligence for its own sake was the path. Not seeking acknowledgement or reward, he would keep striving, and trust that it shaped his spirit in ways both unseen and profound. With renewed commitment, each day Jigme applied himself wholeheartedly to his duties once again. He focused with care on whatever came to hand, practicing mindful attention. Whether sweeping the leaves or serving food, he wanted to help nurture this community however he could. Weeks passed in this way. Then one afternoon, Jigme was summoned once more to the abbot's chamber. Bowing low, he again knelt before the elder monk. Serenity shone from the abbot's eyes as he spoke. "Jigme, your dedicated efforts have not escaped my notice. I have a new task, one that will require much skill." He went on to explain that a renowned master carpenter named Lobsang was coming to rebuild the monastery's main temple hall. It had weakened with age and needed to be completely reconstructed. Lobsang can use an assistant, someone to study with him and learn his methods. I would like you to work alongside him and apply all your focus to this task. Jigme's eyes widened. To study with a real master, helping construct a sacred building. This was an honor beyond anything he imagined. Over the next few weeks, Jigme learned more than he had thought possible about carpentry. He faithfully served Master Lobsang, fetching tools and materials, holding boards steady to be cut, and absorbing the intricate techniques for joinery and decoration. His hands became rough and hardened, and his back ached from long days hauling lumber and stone. Though the work was grueling, Jigme loved seeing the temple take shape day by day. Whenever he could, he paused to admire the master's handiwork, the way the roof beams interlocked like woven fingers, or the elegant carvings adorning the entrance. He had found his calling. He knew deep down. One day he hoped to be able to create such wonders himself. When at last the final tile was laid in place, the new temple hall glittered like a jewel amid the oak trees. The monks celebrated with prayer and song, giving thanks for the skillful means that had manifested this gift. After the ceremonies ended, Jigme sought out Master Lobsang to pay his respects. Prostrating himself before the carpenter, Jigme spoke earnestly. "Venerable sir, I cannot thank you enough for allowing me to learn from you these long weeks. You have shown me that crafting even simple everyday things with mindfulness and care can be the work of awakening. I hope to walk in your footsteps and practice those ways." Lobsang studied the young monk and saw the sincerity in his eyes. Laying a work-roughened hand on Jigme's head in blessing, he replied, "Well done, my boy. I'm glad you understand the deeper purpose here. Always remember, the value in good work does not come from praise or recognition. It comes from the care you pour into each task, however humble. That care feeds the growth of your spirit and connects you to all beings. Continue on this path, and you will build a life of meaning and purpose. I know one day you will create great beauty in this world." Jigme bowed to the ground, his heart full. When he lifted his head, the master was gone. After gathering his tools in the suddenly quiet twilight, Jigme walked slowly back to his cell. He would sleep contentedly tonight. The weeks flowed onward in the timeless patterns of monastery life. The monks rose, prayers were chanted, meditations sat, meals eaten in silence. Jigme found he now loved duties he had once considered bothersome. Sweeping the grounds or cleaning the kitchen became opportunities to practice wholehearted awareness. One afternoon some months later, Jigme was arranging pebbles in a patterned path in the meditation garden when the abbot appeared. "Come, walk with me." Jigme fell into step beside the elder monk as they strolled along a forest trail, their robes whispering over the pine needles carpeting the path. Reaching a break in the trees overlooking the valley, the abbot paused. For a while he gazed at the view in silence. Then finally he spoke, his voice warm with care. "Jigme, I'm so pleased to see the dedication you bring to all you do here. Our community thrives when each person contributes their unique gifts. You have embraced your path with courage and an open heart. Now I think you are ready to take the next step." Jigme looked at the abbot quizzically. What did he mean? Placing a hand on Jigme's shoulder, the abbot explained, "It's time for you to follow your calling as a carpenter, your true purpose. In the village down the mountain, they need someone to build and repair homes damaged by winter storms. I'd like you to go help the villagers rebuild and share your skills however would serve best." Jigme reeled in astonishment. Leave the monastery? Sudden doubts flooded his mind. He was just beginning to feel at home here, and his training was still so incomplete. He was sure he had much more to learn. Sensing Jigme's trepidation, the abbot spoke gently but firmly. "You will always be a son of this monastery, but staying here too long can breed complacency. It's easy to feel you know your place and your task, and just go through the motions day after day. To grow on the path, we must keep stepping beyond the familiar into the unknown. That is where faith is forged." Considering this, Jigme slowly nodded. The truth of the abbot's words resonated in his being. He felt the stirrings of excitement at the prospect of venturing beyond these sheltered walls. The abbot patted Jigme's shoulder. "Go ready yourself for the journey then. Trust what you have learned, but stay open to what the next stage of the path will teach." The next morning, Jigme dressed in his work robes. Slinging a bag with some bread and dried fruit over his shoulder, he headed toward the waiting abbot. The elder monk placed a sting of prayer beads around Jigme's neck and rested his palms on Jigme's bowed head in wordless blessing. When Jigme straightened, the abbot met his gaze steadily. "Build well and wisely. Let compassion be your guide." With those parting words, Jigme walked through the monastery gates without looking back. He set off down the steep mountain trail as the first rays of sunlight filtered through the misty forest. A thrush high in the gnarled pines gave voice to the joy rising in Jigme's heart as he embarked on this new phase of his journey. The true value in doing good work comes from the care and mindfulness you bring to each task, not from external recognition or reward. When you devote yourself fully to whatever you do, however small or humble it seems, you grow spiritually and contribute meaningfully to the world. Work hard in silence, without expectation of praise or acknowledgement. Maintain dedication as an end in itself, and you will find fulfillment. Stay open and willing to take the next step on your path, even when it means leaving your comfort zone. Growth comes by continually moving beyond the familiar and venturing into unknown territory. Each stage of life brings new lessons and opportunities to develop yourself. Trust in your abilities and training. Have faith in the journey ahead, and embrace the challenges that will shape you into who you are meant to become. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate your support.